us. This is the France 24 debate. After the Arab Spring come the Arab Spring's elections, and in all of those cases, we've seen Islamists in the driver's seat in Tunisia, in Morocco, and what we anticipate out of Egypt, where they're concluding a second day of voting in the Cairo district and other places. With us to talk about it from Tunis, Rafik Abdel Salam of Tunisia's Ennahda Party. From the Moroccan capital, Zineb Belmkaden of the pro-democracy February 20th movement, Jalila Hedley-Penier of the advocacy group Think Ahead for the Med, Mahmoud Ismail of the Egyptian Cultural Center here in Paris, and from the New America Foundation, Barak Barfi. Welcome back to all of you. Before the break, we were talking about, and Mahmoud Ismail was saying, how surprising it is that the Salafists are making inroads over the moderates. In fact, we've seen separate voting lines for men and women in Cairo and Alexandria, these past couple of days. Question for you, Mahmoud Ismail, when you see those images, was this the case under Mubarak, that there were separate voting lines in some instances for men and women?
No. No, and it was vote, but no, there was. So maybe in the Delta and in some traditional parts of the countryside, it's their tradition. It's not from the Salafists, especially. In Upper Egypt, for example, always, even in bread queue, in front of to buy bread, they have a women queue and a men queue. There is no problem for this. I mean, what is the very important thing to say is that Muslim Brotherhood are one group and very well organized, as we said, during all the history. But Salafist groups are different groups. And so inside this Salafist group, they are moderate and more radical and less radical. So they are not one body. They are different. So that's why maybe they will get a nice percentage, but inside they are not one body. They are different bodies.
All right, so they're fragmented. Which brings us to the question of will the moderate Islamists, who are the winners of these elections, going to be able to rein in the more hardline elements? A test perhaps coming in Tunisia on Monday at a university near Tunis. Students besieging a campus building and holding students and professors hostage, demanding that women who wear the full-face burqa be allowed to attend, and calling in some instances for single-sex classes. Rafik Abdel Salam, what's your reaction, and how do you think an Ennahda-led government would deal with a situation like this one?
I think this is one of the feature of the new scene after the revolution. We have a few fractions from Salafis and from radical groups who want to jeopardize the stability of the country. But I think democracy itself will be the remedy, that we have the capability to deal with these phenomenon and to integrate the main peaceful forces within the political system. I think this is, as I said before, a transitionary period. We may have some difficulties, but this is not the end of the story. We have the major political parties are the main guarantee of the process of democratization. And the main guarantee for political stability and check and balance power in Tunisia is to have diversified players within the political scene. We have different parties. We have an active civil society. And personally, I'm very optimistic. If you look at the political scene in Europe, for example, in the 50s or 60s, you have radical voices, radical forces like radical left, who were outside the system, but the process of democratization, when they are integrated within the political system, they becoming by this time more moderate.
So you condemn what they did, but again, how would you deal with the takeover, the sequestering of the dean? How would you deal with that situation with Ennahda in government?
We do our best, to intervene and to have dialogue within the main players, either with the dean or these fractions, to sort out this matter in a peaceful way. This is our priority right now. Of course, we are for the liberty, freedom of liberty, freedom of where this is not the responsibility of the state to impose certain ways of life, or certain to wear a hijab or to forbid it. This is part of the civil liberty, personal liberty, and we are very keen to preserve these personal and public liberties. But our strategy is to sort out this problem very soon and to negotiate with the dean in the university as well as with the Salafist fractions who are right now at the university.
Jalila Hedley-Punya, your reaction?
Yeah, those scenes are happening again and again. Actually, they go from the street, from simple behavior in the street, to institutions, to education institutions, also from the university until the primary school. Sometimes there's a little girl who escaped the last 2 weeks because her professor asked her to wear the veil or something. Anyway, so those scenes are happening, and it's so dangerous, destabilizing. I have my friends who are professors at this university, and they are been suffering from this behavior just after the revolution. It sprang from where we don't know. So this behavior is odd to the Tunisian culture. The problem here, I'm asking my friend from Ennahda. I have seen some of the people I know personally from Ennahda who have been who are part of those people who are blackmailing the dean of the university. What will he say? This is like the same. It goes under the same double discourse and double standard of Ennahda. They say that we are moderate, we open it to all parties, but practically on the scene there's another behavior and from the same people.
All right, a brief response, Rafiq.
I think this is definitely nonsense.
Okay.
This is a completely nonsense. We don't like to play the politics of fear, but Islamists are very dangerous. So the game is finished. We finished this game after the collapse of the regime of Ben Ali. We want to work together with our partners, and there are other people who are radical people who want to jeopardize the stability of the country. If you look at strikes,
who are those dangerous?
Even the industrial sectors in the inner cities, they are playing a dirty game. They don't like the government to do its job, and we are in the beginning of the process.
We don't see any response from Ennahda to them. We didn't see any response or any action. They have no action has been taken from Ennahda against those people to condemn those
let's let
practices.
Rafiq Abdel Salam finish.
Yeah.
He's got the short end because he's on the telephone. Yeah. Rafiq.
Yes. Hello. Yes, as I said before, we are in the beginning of the process. We just, we just have the coalition government in the beginning of its job. Please give us some time to stabilize the economy of the country and to stabilize the political situation in the country. And we are very keen, to work our partners and to look at the well-being of our society and of our people.
All right, the proof will be
the revolution, and we don't like to play again the politics of fear. That Islamists, whatever they are, moderates or radicals, they are very dangerous to the political life.
All right, the proof will be in the pudding.
To this postulate is to marginalize Islamists or to radicalize them.
Paint them as radicals. We can go to sociologist Amel Boubacar of Paris's Higher School for Social Studies. She's in Algiers. You've been listening in on the conversation. A couple of questions for you. First off, you're in a country that's on the sidelines, right for the time being, of the Arab Spring. What's the reaction where you are to results in Tunisia, Morocco, and what we anticipate out of Egypt?
Well, quite different from what we are seeing from the north. Actually, there's a narrative that is emerging that is linking Islamist victories to Arab revolutions. This is the idea that people are now discovering more or less free vote systems, and they are convinced by Islamist ideologies. They are becoming Islamists themselves. I mean, that is totally untrue. the real question is not about our people, our Maghreb populations becoming more Islamist, pro-democracy or not, moderate. Have they been seduced by moderate Islamists or not? This is the wrong question, in my opinion. The right question is really to understand what are the current conditions that have pushed people to vote for Islamist parties. And these conditions are linked to the fact that people have inherited in these countries a very disorganized and fragmented political scene, and Islamists have been the one who had the more visible and simplistic offer, which was social justice, which was struggle against corruption, and people simply voted for it. I mean, because it was the more visible option. But Islamists have understood that. Remember, in Tunisia and Morocco, to take these examples, they didn't discuss institutional tools. I mean, they didn't discuss real politics above promises of social justice. For example, they didn't really discuss programs. They didn't discuss the way they are going to challenge or reinventing governance, simply because, as I said, it's not because they are pro or against democracy, but just because they are knowledgeable about the fact that they are in a current context where it's going to be very difficult for them to reinvent something that have existed for the 40 past years. So
So Amel, just to follow up on what we were talking about a moment ago, do you see the Arab Spring ultimately as being a step forward or backward for things like civil liberties, women's rights?
No, I think, that this is, again, we should not link Arab revolution plus Islamist victories plus women's rights. I think there's a lot of challenges that are put ahead by the current context, and Islamists are part of this context, but it does not depend only on Islamists and their victories. And again, I think that when it comes to civil liberties and personal liberties, Islamists have been very pragmatic. I mean, they have been cautious not to afraid people, and they are simply saying that they are going to apply laws that already exist, for example, such in Morocco. So they are not inventing new ideologies, and they are not willing to apply them. They are just trying to manage what they have to manage. But the thing is that the fact that their inclusion in the current system has been more or less a success. They are in power, but do they have power? That's another key. I'm talking especially for Morocco here. It's a bit different for Tunisia. And there's a lot of challenges that remain, as you said, women's rights, but also, for example, economics and social justice. Are Islamists going to be able are they going to have enough resources to answer demands of social justice? To answer those
challenges. Amel Boubacar, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for joining us there from Algiers. Mahmoud Ismail, your thoughts?
Yes, I want to say that to join Amel, what she said, there is something important. For example, in Egypt, if we take from economical point of view, before the 1952 officers' movement of Nasser, Egypt was living really like a secular, more and less secular country. And Muslim Brotherhoods were there, a very powerful group in the society, but the people were always speaking about problems of economy, of works, of agriculture. The idea of ideology was not there. But when Nasser came, he applied socialism. So people were accustomed to socialism. It was a very big problem after socialism. And then Sadat came and he applied capitalism. And it was another, again, a big economical problems. And things are going worse and worse. So now there is a look for a new economical model. Who is speaking about a new economical model? It is the Islamic current. And he's speaking that we will present you another model. This model was applied in reality, in life, when they won elections in syndicates, in engineering syndicates, in doctor syndicates, and in jurist syndicates. In the three syndicates, when the Islamic...
The three trade unions there.
Unions, yes. And they worked quite well, and there is no corruption, and they made a lot of projects. So I think that people also saw in the field some success of this model, especially for devotion and non-corruption. non-corruption. So I think that for now,
All right, so that's the label, and the proof will be in the pudding.
of course,
The issue you touch on an important point, and that is the issue of aspirations of people who are trying to bring themselves out of poverty. At a U.S.-EU summit Monday, Barack Obama took stock of the changing of the guard in the Arab world. Here's what he had to say.
Because we both agree that the aspirations that were expressed in Egypt and Tunisia and in Libya are not simply political issues, but they're also economic issues, and that we have to do everything we can to support increased opportunity for young people.
Barack Barfi, we've heard some disagreement on this panel today, but one thing that we all agreed on is that the proof will be in the pudding. These Islamists that come to power, how are they going to manage these huge challenges that Amel Boubacar and that Mahmoud Ismail are talking about?
They're not really going to be able to. They don't really have new answers to old problems. As Amal said, they're basically anti-establishment candidates. All they do is criticize the regime in power. They're really not going to bring a lot of ideology. People, when we talk about the Muslim Brotherhood, if we talk about Salafists, they really want to reorientate society from the top down, from the top up, and from the bottom down. From the bottom up and from the top down. These are what the Salafists want to do. But what Mahmoud was talking about, economics, really these Muslim Brotherhood organizations, these moderate Islamists as they're known, they employ capitalism. They employ the capitalist model. They're really not statists, as Nasser was when he created the bureaucracy. If we look at a country like Yemen, the Islamic movement there known as Islah, it draws off the traders in Taiz, which is Yemen's second city, and they want less state regulation.
And of course, all three of these countries have one thing in common, which is tourism, and they're not going to want to scare away Western tourists.
Exactly. Early on, it's going to be very difficult for these Islamist groups to really implement a lot of their ideology of what they want to do when they come into power. They're not going to be able, in a country like Egypt, you're not going to be able to stop selling alcohol, because that's one of the reasons the tourists will come to Egypt, and that's what differentiates Egypt from a country like Libya, which has no tourism but beautiful coastlines and some ancient ruins.
All right, we're going to have to unfortunately leave it there. Much more to talk about, though. I want to thank you, Barack Barfi. I want to thank Jalila Hedley-Penier. I want to thank Rafik Abdel Salam for joining us from Tunis, Zinab Beldenkaden for joining us from Rabat in Morocco, and Mahmoud Ismail for being with us. Thank you for joining us here in the France 24 debate. Stay with us. Coming up next, we're going to turn to other economic problems, those of Europe. Marcus Carlson has business.